Alright, so we're kicking things off with a look at some pretty intense stuff in the AI world this week. First up, we've got President Trump going on a rant on Truth Social and ordering federal agencies to stop using Anthropic's products right away, which has everyone buzzing about government oversight of AI. Then we'll dig into how the Pentagon has designated Anthropic as a supply chain risk. And there's talk of a potential lawsuit from Anthropic over that. And finally, let's not forget this new California law that requires age verification for all operating systems, which could change how we set up our devices. I'm excited to unpack all this with you, Jordan, because it's got some serious implications for tech innovation and privacy.
Oh man, that sounds like a wild ride, Sam. I mean, Trump's involvement always adds that extra layer of drama, and pairing it with Pentagon stuff, that's genuinely fascinating. So let's start with a Trump story. You mentioned his rant on Truth Social. From what I recall, it's tied to ordering agencies to cease using Anthropic's tech immediately, which probably stems from broader concerns about foreign influences or something like that. Wait, no, that's not quite right. Actually, the sources don't specify the exact content of his rant, but it's clear he's directing a halt to their products. And I think that's going to shake things up in how government agencies handle AI tools going forward.
Exactly, Jordan, and it's interesting how this order came out of nowhere for a lot of people. So Trump posted on Truth Social and basically instructed federal agencies to stop using Anthropic's AI products right away, which from the sources seems linked to some perceived risks, though we don't have the full details on his exact accusations. I was gonna say it might be about national security. But let's stick to what's reported. It's an immediate cessation, and that could disrupt ongoing projects. You know, it's one of those moments where politics intersects with tech in a big way. And I wonder how this affects companies like Anthropic that are trying to innovate while navigating government scrutiny.
That's wild, Sam. I didn't realize how abruptly this could impact things. So if agencies have been relying on Anthropic's tools, even if it's not everywhere as some might think, this order means they're pulling the plug fast. It makes me think about the broader implications, like how this could push other AI firms into the spotlight, or even encourage more domestic alternatives. Wait, actually, let's circle back. What do you suppose this says about the government's trust in AI providers? Because from the sources, it's clear this is a directive from the top, and it's got me a bit concerned about the future of AI in public sectors.
You're right to be concerned, Jordan. It's a pretty bold move that could set a precedent. Moving on to our next big story. The Pentagon has officially designated Anthropic as a supply chain risk, which is based on those Reddit discussions highlighting potential vulnerabilities. From what we've got in the sources, this designation means they're viewing Anthropic's tech as a potential weak point, maybe due to foreign ties or other factors. And it's led to Anthropic stating they'll challenge this in court if it sticks. I mean, that's a huge escalation, and it reminds me of how companies have to defend their operations against government labels, which could affect their business and partnerships.
Whoa, that's really stepping things up. I love how this ties back to the Trump order, almost like a 1-2 punch for Anthropic. So, with the Pentagon calling them a risk, and Anthropic ready to sue, it's clear there's a lot at stake here, especially since the sources mention the Undersecretary of War giving a response that's described as normal and sane, assuring that they won't misuse the tech for weapons or surveillance. But, okay, that assurance might not be enough for everyone, and it makes me skeptical about whether these promises hold up in practice. What do you think, Sam? Could this lawsuit actually change how the government handles AI designations?
Absolutely, Jordan, and it's fascinating to see Anthropic push back like this. From the sources, they're prepared to take legal action if designated, which shows they're not backing down. This whole situation has sparked debates on platforms like Reddit and Hacker News about AI ethics and trust, with some posts suggesting boycotts of other companies for similar reasons. Like that one thread about canceling ChatGPT Plus because OpenAI jumped into deals with the Department of War so quickly. It highlights how consumers are paying attention to these alignments. Overall, it's a reminder that AI companies have to balance innovation with ethical stances, and this could lead to more regulations down the line.
That's a great point, Sam. And speaking of ethical stances, this ties into broader discussions we've seen, like on Hacker News with titles like "We Will Not Be Divided" or warnings about not trusting AI agents, which probably relate to security models. But getting back to Anthropic, their decision to potentially sue is bold, and it might inspire other firms to stand their ground. I was gonna say it could even affect international relations, but let's not overreach. The key is how this plays out in court and what it means for supply chain security. Honestly, this story has me thinking about the long-term impact on AI development in the US.
Yeah, it's all interconnected, isn't it? Shifting gears to our third story, there's this new law in California that requires age verification for all operating systems, including things like Linux, which is a bit surprising given how tech usually evolves. From the sources, it's aimed at protecting users, probably kids, by making sure accounts are verified for age during setup. And that could mean big changes for software developers and users alike. I mean, think about it. Every time you install an OS, you'd have to go through this process, which might add friction, but could enhance privacy and safety online.
Oh, that's actually really interesting, Sam. I hadn't fully grasped how wide-reaching this is. So this law isn't just for big tech players. It hits everything, even open source options, which might make things tougher for smaller developers who don't have the resources for compliance. Wait, actually, let me think. This could lead to innovations in verification tech, but it also raises questions about privacy, like how much data users have to share. That's genuinely concerning, because as we've seen in other stories, trust in tech is already shaky, and this might push people towards less regulated alternatives.
Exactly, and it's one of those laws that sounds good on paper, but could have unintended consequences, like slowing down adoption of new systems or creating barriers for tech enthusiasts. From what I can tell from the sources, it's specifically about age verification at account setup, which ties into broader efforts to combat online harms, but we should watch how it's enforced. You know, it reminds me of how AI regulations are evolving, similar to the Anthropic saga, where the goal is safety, but the execution might need fine-tuning. Overall, this could be a model for other states, so it's worth keeping an eye on.
Totally, Sam. And it makes me wonder if this will spark more debates on tech forums about user rights versus government oversight. Wrapping up these stories, I think we've covered some heavy hitters today, from Trump's direct intervention to potential legal battles and new laws shaping the industry. It's clear AI is at a crossroads, and these developments could redefine how we approach tech ethics and security moving forward.
You're spot on, Jordan. To sum it up, we've seen Trump ordering a halt to Anthropic's tech, the Pentagon labeling them a risk with possible lawsuits, and California's new age verification requirements that could change the game for operating systems. It's been a whirlwind of news, and I'm excited for what comes next in the AI space. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next week for more.
Absolutely, Sam. Always a pleasure chatting about this stuff. Stay tuned, folks, and remember to keep an eye on how these stories unfold. See you next time.
One more thing before we go. If you're interested in diving deeper, check out the sources we mentioned, like those Reddit threads and Hacker News posts. Alright, that's a wrap.
Yeah, great call. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Wait, just to clarify on that last point, we kept things factual based on the sources, so no wild speculations here. Okay, really signing off now.